Hello, uploader of the replay. I love Oov. This is Breaker, and I'm going to be casting your replay yet again. Now, today I want a little bit of mercy if you think maybe my casting sounds a little off tune or off cue or anything of that nature. As you can see, I have a bandage on my arm. I got just done donating plasma, and that is basically my way of making money on the side, aside from my side job and, of course, Twitch.tv revenue. Excuse me, aside from my minimum wage job. Now, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this replay, but I also want to go ahead and mention that professional casting, much to the what's the word I'm looking for? Much to the tune of, say, In Control and Nathanias, for example, is usually a 2 or 3-man job. Someone has to play the role of the observer while both of the casters are talking about what's going on in the game. But without further ado, I went ahead and logged in, and I'm going to start casting your replay. Alright, so it looks like the map today is going to be Akilon Wastes, and I went ahead and went with something besides the standard ESL overlay, and by ESL I mean that fancy one that they used, and I'm getting a bit of frame rate hiccups, but that shouldn't last for too terribly long. So here we go, in the lower right hand corner, spawning is our Terran in the red trunks. The uploader of this replay, his name is iloveoov. And in the upper left hand corner, spawning as our blue Zerg, his name is simply Switch. It's looking like I'm getting some serious frame rate issues. I don't know what it is, because earlier, I don't know, it's kind of smoothing out now, but it's just, hang on just a second. This is kind of a little bit severe, just a little bit. But I think for now it's somewhat tolerable. Let me check my frame rate. Well, it says I'm getting 215 frames per second. One moment. I'm going to go ahead and just take this to... Oh, no wonder why I've got StarCraft 2 and Screen Region being rendered at the same time. There we go. Okay, so that fixed the problem. There we go. Sorry about that. I went ahead and restarted my computer all for nothing, and it was basically a waste of time, but it's okay now. Okay. So, the way the game is unfolding so far is that it looks like Oov has opted to go for a barracks, followed by a refinery. This can most typically, at least with this kind of timing, spurn forth a Reaper. The reason why we see the gas being taken this early is because, of course, the SCVs need to be kind of timed out perfectly to queue up, get some gas going, and things of that nature. And typically they won't stop afterwards. We usually see this followed up by 1, maybe 2 Reapers, and then typically, and ideally, a factory follow-up. So we could see iloveoov essentially espousing a 1-1-1. But for the time being, I'm just going to bank on him getting enough gas for a factory, and then we're going to see where things go from there. Now, it looks like our Zerg went for a double hatch opener. He's kind of going at this with a blind scout. He did send his Overlord over here, yes, but it's not going to arrive in the main in time to spot anything too terribly critical. And now the gas is being taken from Switch. That's typically going to yield basically enough time for... I'm thinking with the timing that we see for the gas on here, it like once the once about maybe 30 seconds after this pool is done, we're gonna see metabolic boost get researched, and the SCV is coming in here to just see what kind of an oper this is, and he does see the gas. That's all he needs to see. And he's gonna go ahead and make a bunker here. Looks like that's gonna be kind of critical, but at the same time, this extractor does allow Switch to have vision of that particular target structure, if you will, and it looks like we have no reaction from Switch so far. Like, now is the time to actually... No, you do not do this as Zerg. You actually... Okay. The micro is alright here. It looks like he's able to trick that up just a little bit, but I'm a little surprised that he didn't at least pull 1 or 2 drones to deal with that SCV. Only now has he become really aware of that. Oh, but the Reaper gets caught on creep, and that's going to do some damage. But the question is, will the second Reaper here be able to get into the bunker or not? Now, we do have the factory follow-up that I was talking about, along with the reactor. So we're going to see iloveoov as basically espousing one of 2 techs, or one of 2 schools of tech. One will be either, you know, straight up Widow Mine straight out. This is a play that we see happening less and less because it's kind of dated. It's been figured out just a little bit. But for now, it's looking like we're going to have Switch lose a single drone, which is actually a bit of a bonus for the Reaper. But then again, given the fact that it costed, I'm thinking here, 2 Reapers to get it, I'm thinking it may not have quite been worth it. Then again, at this point, the damage has been done to both players, and anything eCKo can get, be it a drone or a few Zergling kills, or even tricking up a few larvae being turned into Zerglings, is actually economic damage being dealt in the early game, if you will. So Reaper comes in, it's poking around some more, and back at home we have Hellions in production, 2 at a time. And now we have a tech lab going down on top of this barracks, and a 3rd command center being done. So Switch is going to see this. How's he going to react to it? He's going to try and gear this up into a macro game, or are we going to see him try and take it down with some kind of a timing attack? Well, Overlord's in, it sees all 3 of those command centers, and it's going to be at least a slight delay if we're going to see a starport. At this present time, I would not be surprised to see iloveoov just throw down another factory and try and take it into straight mech, or no, actually, that was an idiot call of me. There's a tech lab going down on top of the barracks, so and thus we see STEM in research right now, so that actually means that we should be seeing a bio follow-up with or without Hellbats. And now there are 4 Hellions here, trying to control the spread of creep. That's right, creep tumor population control, if you will, ladies and gentlemen, right here in the form of these red Hellions. When creep tumor's kind of inching forward, eCKo doesn't have vision of it, amazingly. Like, yeah, he just can't see up that ramp right now. Mainly Nest going down for Switch, so I don't know. There are 12 Lings on the way as well. They could simply be here for map control. Rule of thumb is, at least from one Masters League Zerg player that I've spoken to, he says that if he sees more than 6 Hellions, he'll typically throw down a Roach Warren, because they're usually an easy fix. If not, they simply allow creep tumors to spread relatively uncontrolled. But here we go, 6 Hellions versus this many Lings. I'm just not thinking it's going to work out for the Lings in the numbers that they are at, especially given the fact that they didn't really get us around. They do just barely move faster than Hellions off creep. But again, you just need that kind of contain. And the question is, what are we going to see from Switch in the near future? The Hellions are actually moving out on creep. This is a little bit dangerous, but at the same time, we actually see that Switch is only just now getting his Ling production up. One Queen does snipe a Hellion, and behind this we actually see that eCKo is kind of going for his own 3rd. Which is actually going to be significantly far ahead of his opponents, because his, even though it's set up, it should already have drones on it. It does not just yet, but there are 48 already out on the map, which is actually higher than the SCV count, which is counterbalanced by the mules that we have. Okay, so it looks like, oh, these Lings are going to get that one Hellion! Oh, they don't. 3 HP. That was just so close. Alright. So here we are. eCKo making the definitive bio transition. He now has combat shields in research and getting a lot of barracks out. For now, we are just going to see a lot of Marines and a lot of Widow Mines. Widow Mine's not a bad choice, really, unless you're 4GG. Because really, they take the place of siege tanks in so many different ways in this game, because they can also shoot up. Think about it, when you have 3 or 4 Widow Mines hit an entire flock of mutas, that's all it takes to really deal. That's all it really takes to deal with that many mutas, and I've been unfortunately in that kind of receiving end of the game. Now we had +1/+1 going for our Zerg right now, so that basically, of course, +1 melee. That basically signals that we can probably expect our Zerg to go ultras in the late game, but I have seen some people kind of deviate from that and go into Broodlords, most notably FXO Lowly, and that is a lot of Banelings right there, guys. And in fact, I don't think, especially with all the Widow Mines here, it's just going to depend on the connections, honestly, but it could end up doing game-ending damage to iloveoov, but at the same time, it's all going to come down to the connections, how many workers get killed behind that, and so on and so forth. Now, these Hellions are caught all the way out here, and they're not going to be able to deal with these Banelings. The Baneling speed upgrade did just finish. It looks like Switch is actually a little bit... This is what I'm looking for. He's actually quite hesitant to engage. Ooh, but he gets the Hellions. It's kind of a big score, but he doesn't know just how many Widow Mines are here. And he did lose a big chunk of his Banelings there to a single Widow Mine. They're kind of steamrolling over that one bunker, and all we see lost in this was a few Hellions and that bunker. That is not an equitable trade for our Zerg. Look at this. The resources thrown away. and what he got in return for it was only 1453 in resources. I don't care if that's just minerals, it's just not worth it. But you check what that was in all of that. Those banelings, the numbers, if there was a couple dozen of them, you take that and you multiply it by how many quarters of 100 there is for gas, then you've got basically, let me think, I think there was 24 of them. So that means 300 gas got thrown away just now, as well as 300 minerals. Scan goes down on this third, but it's actually a little bit late for eCKo because that one's been established for a long time now, and the fourth is actually kind of just now getting started. And both players are taking it into the late game already. You can see that Switch is getting his tier 3 tech along with 2+2+2, and I think he really wants to get that Ultralisk Cavern out soon, especially given the fact that he lost so many Banelings in that engagement here. Now, eCKo behind this is, of course, integrating Hellbats into the mix. They will not be the best tool in the shed versus Ultralisks, but Ultralisks just kind of rifles onto everything except for Marauders. If he could get Infestors into the mix, and by he I mean our Zerg, then we could see him do just fine. And that is a beautiful timing right there. +2/+2 just finished as Hive Tech did. Now we have +3/+3 in the Ultralisk Cavern going down, again, as predicted. No one's really found out how to really fit Broodlords into the late game versus Terran. I guess like the only reason why anyone would try to do this, and the last Zerg player I remember trying to do this was FXO, well, no longer FXO, but Lovi from Belarus. He did manage to, well, the one game where he did use Broodlords, it didn't really work out for him, but it did catch his opponent off guard and force at least a temporary tech switch. Now we have +2/+2 just now finishing up for iloveoov as he's getting ready to move out onto his opponent's creep, which is at the ramp. Widow Mines are going to be over here, set up to basically intercept any reinforcements that come this way. But wait a minute, those Widow Mines, how are they going to work? They actually worked against eCKo here. And it looks like this Marine Marauder force is actually being completely torn apart. The exception, this one Widow Mine, my god, 24 kills, and a good chunk of those were actually Banelings. Hello, how did you figure that out? Whoa, 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 that was a little confusing. How did Switch detect that Widow Mine? It didn't quite make sense to me. At any rate, it looks like Switch is trying to move into a position to get some revenge on all the swarm units that had basically fallen apart there. And now we have chitinous plating going down as well as 3 Ultralisks in the mix. So the question is, how are we going to see eCKo be able to hold this? He is actually putting more and more Marauders into the mix. He doesn't know about the tech, but he does expect it right now. I mean, it could be possible at this stage of the game, especially given the fact that iloveoov went for a very early third. The Overseer got sniped, and it looks like these Marauders are taking for the Banelings here. But it looks like, I don't know, it's just not quite enough here for Switch. And again, we see him throwing away a lot of resources. I think it would still be worth it to possibly get some Infestors thrown into the mix. I mean, sure, they, you know, ouch. And speaking of annoying, like, wow, talk about annoying. This Widow Mine down here actually did put a shot off on this Queen, and it looks like we have a medevac just kind of parked out here, getting a good read on what we can see here from Switch. And he actually has a significant amount of vision here, just given with this Widow Mine, and oh man, I was a little bit scared for those lanes. Double medevac drop is going to be going down, it looks like over at the third, or what he perceives to be the third, or no, actually, he's just going to park it out here for now. Oh wait, it looks like he's changed his mind, and he's gonna do a drop here, but it's alright, even if he lost this base, really. Because behind this, Switch also has his 5th over here. So far, both players are kind of breaking apart just a little bit, just taking it into macro phase. eCKo now also going down here with a drop. Looks like he's gonna get extractor, maybe a couple of drones, but I wouldn't expect more than a couple, really. Just not even a single drone there. That did kind of pull his opponent's attention for just a moment, but it looks like any kind of drop play for eCKo is going to be just kind of thwarted for the time being. So now, eCKo has a thorough assessment on the situation that he's in. He's got +3/+3. He's also got drilling claws on the way for his Widow Mines. Now tanks. Interesting choice, considering they are, what's the word I'm looking for? Involuntarily stationary. versus the force that we have coming from Switch, and this is really, really late game Mutalist tech. He's also getting +1 flyer attacks for this, so on and so forth. Now, as I requested before, please just leave any feedback you have on my casting, because I do need just that little bit more of information. Excuse me, wow. Now we have Switch not quite catching onto this drop, but it looks like he's gonna possibly catch onto it with or without. Oh, no, wait. Oh, that was so close. That was. Jeez. Whoa, he's just flying all around it. He's not actually getting up in that drop. Okay, so there we go. One failing did connect with those Marines in the water. But of course, it's not the concussive shells the Ultras have to worry about. It's just the fact that the Marauders can actually outrun them with or without stim. And the Mutas are going to take this down, I'm thinking. And everything's dropping, but this many Marines, I don't know if they're actually a threat to any of the Mutas. One does fall, that's about it. Now we have just the Muta count increasing a little bit, and it looks like Switch for now is just going to maintain this kind of movement. Oh, but Love, again, drops everywhere that are getting shut down. I think he realizes that, hey, this is just not quite going for him, and he's probably going to be forced to engage just straight up. Both players right now at, wow, amazingly even workers. I wouldn't have expected that, 93 to 93. This is typically a dangerously high level of workers for Terran, because at this stage in the game, with this many orbital commands, with this many bases, a Terran should be essentially opting to throw away their SCVs, typically what I see at this stage, and then move into, say, that's actually quite annoying. He's going to try and destroy the rocket before he has a chance to use them against his opponent. This is actually the chance for Switch to move in on this attack right now. He just doesn't realize it just yet. And it looks like we're going to have, what was it, a once attempted medevac drop get shot down. Free siege tank out here for Switch as well. That would have kind of been a little bit bigger if he'd actually managed to get that medevac. These Widow Mines kind of parked in a forward position, but I'm just... It looks like he's just going to try and poke away at this fourth. And if we see anything move to this, aside from perhaps Mutas... Oh, but this! Oh! Takes down one Muta and does a lot of damage to the rest of the block. And now it's looking like perhaps we're going to have Switch try a run-by of some sort while simultaneously trying to find a way to engage his opponent. But here we are, forward command centers. This isn't quite going to work out. Stim goes down on these guys, and it looks like we're actually going to see some Lings successfully conduct a run-by here. Maybe get 1 or 2 worker kills, but then the Marines come down and shut that off. Yeah, they're like, yep, sorry, none for you, bro. At least I got 6 times more than you is what eCKo is saying right now, but at the same time, he's doing a good job of playing chess with his opponent, really. Oh, but look at this. The Mutas. Oh, jeez. Okay, so split drops, if you will. Drone's being pulled, interestingly enough. I think that was a misclick, but it looks like the Mutas were able to shut that down. And now everything except this one tank is pulling back home for our Terran. I think he's wanting to maybe conduct some kind of a tech switch. We do have a lot of tech labs going down on these factories, so maybe he's trying to switch it up into tanks, but at the same time, a tech lab on a starport. That usually means we're trying to get some battle cruisers out. Typically. Now, here we go. Marauder's trying to come in here and do some poking. Of course, it won't do too much damage to a queen. Ouch, 8 damage per shot. That's not really optimal. But here we go, Switch just expoing like a madman. He's now on 6 bases. Of course, only one of them really mining. Not one of them, but I believe, let's see, 4 of them? Of course, at that 6 o'clock position when he's just mostly taking gas, that's what he needs it for. And, there's going to be a kind of surround here. It's not too pretty. The Marine count here is, I don't know, it's a little questionable, but oh, the stim, and it looks like the Widow Mines are going to do a lot of damage to these Mutas. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, what is this going to be right here? Oh my god, he doesn't quite get all the Mutas, but he gets a good chunk of them with it. And now we actually see that eCKo is in a bit of trouble. He's actually at 154 supply to his opponent's 198, and if there was ever any time for our Zerg to push back, it would definitely be now. Question is, can Oof hold this? He's got a double planetary fortress this year. He just doesn't have any anti-air to defend against this, aside from a couple of Widow Mines. And he knows that immediately. He's like, oh, snap, I better get this stuff into position. But, oh, man, that's a good chunk of mutas that just got taken down by those Widow Mines. All but 5 remain. It's going to be all but 5 were taken down. It looks like these ultras are going to get that planetary fortress, yeah. And now Oof is trying to chase down these ultras. Marines, I don't know, like, are they going to be enough versus this many mutas? That's the real question. I think this is a bit of a micro mistake from Switch. But it looks like all the ultras are slowly but surely dealt with. Mutas, however, jeez, I don't know. Looks like they're trying to back off in the process. They just knew it wasn't quite going their way. If Oof was to basically throw down and drop at this point in time, that would be boxer style, and he would do a lot of damage. Here we go. Now it looks like we actually have Oof kind of coming out a little victorious over all of this. He's just got to be careful the way he stims, because of course he only has 2 medevacs to heal all of these Marines at once. I'm a little bit confused. I don't know if there was any drop play behind this or not. And ultras are getting pulled off of this base, and it looks like we're going to have Oof try and take it down. He's doing good so far, getting a good couple of ultras, 3 of them actually. And now the rest of these Marauders, the question is, will they be able to handle these guys or not? I don't know. Just wait to see. They're stemmed up. There's only 5 of them. They're going to be backed away into a wall, and then now it looks like the Widow Mines are going to get some damage done, at least to the links anyway. Ultra's coming in to clean that up, and if we just had, I think, eCKo Switch a little more conscious of what's going on around here, you see that he's in a position to do so much more damage. If he simply pulled Queens and then went for his opponent's base at the correct location. Now Switch here, what are you going to do? Now we have just reinforcing Marauders, yeah, Marines and Marauders, trying to take down the forces of Switch. Widow Mines actually successfully killed 1 or 2 ultras there, just 1 actually. The guy falls apart and he melts into the earth. And now finally we see that Oof is going to be able to make a move on this base, almost completely uncontested. Ouch! 1 Widow immediately spawns, moment of birth, and it dies. Mutas coming in here to try and clean up these Marauders, but the Widow Mines does too much. And if it's not the Widow Mines, it's definitely the Marines. And now we actually see that Oof is getting a good deal of worker kills behind this. Behind this, we actually see that Switch is trying to get Burrow, perhaps to get some Baneling landmines out there. But at this stage, you know, Baneling landmines, they did contribute to cleaning up that force, but they were in such low health. I just don't know if it would have helped or not. Now, Oof is kind of mined out on his bottom right base for the time being, so he's got to find a place to expo to. He spent, I think, a little too much. No, never mind. He actually did find time for an expo behind this. Alright, so both players now gearing up and going from the late game to the late game. We're talking like the late game is basically when 3-3 upgrades hit for both players, and both players are on tier 3 tech. And this is exactly the scary kind of position that Nozerg wants to find themselves in. That's facing Mass Raven. Looks like this drop over here was shut down. I think maybe it was just a visual medevac, but there are so many mutas here that I'm thinking if just 1 Raven Hunter Seeker missile connects with all these mutas, we're actually going to see like Switch in a lot of trouble. These mutas basically one-shotting this orbital command, and I think this could be the critical part of the game. Let's just wait and see how this goes. Alright, so behind this, both players have a bank, so they can remax on anything, I think, with very little trouble. Ooh, Widow Mines actually make sick connections there. The Baneling's not able to outrun that, but Sick Micro allows Switch to actually take that 1 Baneling out of the composition that dealt all that was being targeted by the Raven Hunter Seeker missile. So ultimately, really beautiful reflexes from Switch. But I don't know. Wait a minute. I think there's a few too many. Oh yeah. Oh, but wait. Oh, the Widow Mines. There's a few too many. But the Overseer. Oh my god. This, I think, is going to result in perhaps Oof being a little bit more victorious. If he simply opens his eyes, he can't just throw away mutas like this. He can have them engage en masse on Marines, but at the same time, that would require him sacrificing this 12 o'clock position base, the 6 o'clock position base, which was basically fallen anyway. Now we have the mutas chasing down all these Marauders. He's basically, I think, stalling for time to get something else out behind this. 32 Lings. And again, whoa. Am I reading this right? Okay, yeah, it's just Never mind. His Terran vehicle weapons level 2. I thought perhaps it was Infernal Pre-Igniter. They look so similar in my opinion. Yeah, so we have medevacs being cranked out 4 at a time, and more Marines just coming out. It must be such a relief for eCKo to simply have to crank out, you know, minerals essentially to deal with this problem. Ouch! But that sick Widowmine connection is going to result in a lot of Mutalisk kills. Not because... but no, wait a minute! eCKo is actually moving straight into this Baneling wall. Oh, man, and that was counteracted by all those Widow Mines on the ground. I don't think there was an Overseer in the mix. But wait, if he burrows... No, wait, he can't burrow. They're scanned. He's being chased down. Let's look at this the way it is right now. Checking the income at this stage of the game is actually in favor of our Zerg player. Behind this, we did see that eCKo did lose his upper right expo, if you will, and Switch is now re-expoing to a 6 o'clock base. A lot of his income is constituted by distance mining, but just as I say that, this base does finish up, and it's oversaturated as it is. I want to say that if we see Terran with some stick drops on that base, he's going to be able to do a lot of damage. He's scanning everywhere to see just what's going on, and it looks like we're actually going to see eCKo's base here get intercepted. Yes, just before it can even get started, all these SCVs are getting massacred. But of course, every time he kills an SCV, he creates an opportunity for eCKo to fill up more open supply. Because Terran has bugles. Now wait, what's going on here? The missile turret does finish. Marauders get pulled into the fight as well, but that's just a waste, essentially. Now, quite a few burrowed Widow Mines, but it's looking like these Widow Mines are kind of working against eCKo just a little bit in the essence of 4GG style, if you will. But Switch, trying to deal as much economic damage as possible. Tries to get as many SCV kills behind this as he can, with +2 mutas. And the armor of these SCVs is at +3. But behind this we have, I think, eCKo taking this to a base trade scenario. He's actually going to take down this lower left-hand corner and the macro hatch behind it. Both players, workers killed right now at this stage of the game is just soaring, but it looks like Switch is getting more slowly but surely. Switch is going to go ahead and re-expo to what's like the 12 o'clock-ish position base here at this location. And the mutas are chasing down the SCVs. What is the count right now in terms of workers? We actually have Switch ahead slightly. And Switch is going to be able to take care of this base, no problem. And I think he's going to come out just a little bit ahead with that base. But, again, it's just... Oh, wait a minute. All these burrowed workers, if just one of them unburrows, then a Widow Mine connection would be so much damage. Mutalisk coming in to take care of these medevacs. They are a little bit critical, but not so much when they're low on energy. It's nice to save them and make sure that they can heal Marines for another day. Oh, but this is not the kind of activity we need to see from Switch. He's just losing more mutas this way. It's, you know, he's got the bank to throw away all those resources, really, but at the same time, both players are taking it into a low econ situation with Switch coming out just a little bit in the lead. It looks like eCKo is going to try and land a base here and turn it into an orbital, or excuse me, a planetary, but it's not quite going to work out. Meanwhile, Holy Mules Batman here on this little pocket upper right, if you will. And behind this, we see that eCKo Switch is going to try and do some damage. Right now he's doing nothing but making, oh my god, making lings. And he's going to try and chase down a good deal of these workers. It's just kind of backfiring because he's throwing away his supply on Widow Mines. Meanwhile, the mutas are successfully going to kill this base. I was meant to go to the 12 o'clock position. Spawn, and it's looking like eCKo Switch is going to try and A-move into this base. There aren't a lot of Banelings ready. There's only 3 or so. That means if they make bad connections, it's not going to help them out too much. But the mutas, again, flying straight up into some Widow Mines, trying to, ignore everything else and just do economic damage instead of going for the straight-up engagement. I think that was a huge critical part. They could have used the tank kill there, and they just didn't get it. Unfortunately, it looks like this orbital command may be dealt with, and I think that was an unworthy trade for Switch. He just detonates all of his Banelings there without any vision. And speaking of Widow Mines, it's looking like we're going to have these guys go over here, park themselves behind this base, and maybe do a little bit of economic damage somewhere in between. This one's going to cut off reinforcements that come out of this hatch if they move slowly. And thus far, it's not too much activity going on here aside from some mutas getting sniped by Marines and trying to simultaneously snipe some Widow Mines. Oh, wait, but those Widow Mines, a couple of them unburrowed. A handful of these lings are getting thrown away to try and make a worthy trade. It did kind of just pan out just a little bit there, but at the same time we have, again, Switch not quite being able to penetrate this little line using Lings and Banelings. He finally has an Overseer in the mix to deal with those Widow Mines. And it's just hard to say just where this could go. I mean, it's anybody's game, in my opinion. Of course, we do have Switch coming out ahead in terms of supply. His engagements haven't been the best. Ouch. Another chunk of mutas, and finally the last of the mutas are dealt with by that Widow Mine. That was basically martyrdom, if you will. And it looks like we're actually going to see Switch in a position to finally prevent mining on this base. Or so it would seem permanently. Now these lings come into the kill, but there's nothing left that can actually shoot up. Do we actually have any gas income from Switch? We don't. Okay, well, it looks like eCKo is actually... Oh, wait a minute! This could be highly unfavorable for Switch, and it looks like it's just what eCKo needed to turn things around. That got a huge chunk of Zerg loops just now, and it looks like the Marines on the ground snipe that Overseer. Now we do have a burrowed Ling over here, but of course at this stage of the game, scans are so numerous for Terran that it's just going to be, not even a thorn in the side, really. It's just going to be a waste of a split second. So with that, we see the orbital command that was once over here, now lifting up and going to the upper right. And it seems to me, in my perspective, we actually have Switch not able to catch on to the fact that there are Widow Mines burrowed here. Banelings morphing here, getting caught kind of out in the open, and then they're not making favorable connections. You never want to use those against Marauders. But let's go ahead and check and see just what the supply is tied up in. 18 SCVs for our Terran. See, this is what I'm talking about. He should have a higher army supply, and he does. He has just that. But it's looking like a multitude of workers are going to be stuck in places that they can't afford to be, and here is one of them. We actually have Spore Crawlers and Spine Crawlers being made right now. I'm wondering if it's possible for Widow Mines to actually just, damage structures. So there it is. They're now being revealed, all of 3 of them. It looks like that one Spore Crawler might be able to deal with it, but it just depends on how the splash damage goes. Both players, again, getting worn down to the hair of their teeth in this game. And it looks like we're going to have a Marine just kind of stim up and move in here. But what about this Widow Mine? It's so dangerously close to connecting with these workers here. It's not even funny. I think what we're trying to see him do is perhaps... Oh, wait. Oh, no. This could be bad. It's going to slowly but surely do damage to him. Meanwhile, there's another engagement over here. And here we go. It's just... Arg! This engagement, it looks like he's trying to throw away the Banelings on mules, but mules don't cost money. They just cost energy. That overall in itself simply means that we will see eCKo coming out in tow and ahead in terms of income. You may even get the snipe on this base. There's nothing here. I mean, sure, there's a few lings, but they're not going to be able to deal with this force in time. And look at that, they actually get picked up by a 4 HP medevac. I'm sorry, guys, but this is one of those life's pain in the ass moments, if you will, or if you're a Zerg player. Let's just look at this. This is, it's not even funny if you're Zerg right now. Okay, behind this it looks like we're going to see another Widow Mine dealt with again, the Spine Crawler having already a rather large number of kills, and here we go, Switch again trading unfavorably. He pulled away his... Oh, I like that. He actually pulled away his links at the last second, and he was able to get the Widow Mines to detonate on a good deal of those... on those Marines and Marauders. So it's the one case where we saw a 4 GG just get pulled, and it looks like this Marine... kind of concentrate on the Overseer, and he does get it. And now we have Switch essentially stuck on distance mining, which is producing more income for him now than it is for iloveoov. This game, painfully close, except we have essentially Switch with the... I don't know, his army supply is only 3/4 of that of his opponent's right now. We actually see that he's going to get this tank. That's going to be valuable, but at the same time, eCKo has production back up now that he's got income. Without income, you have no production, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to have eCKo just taking this game away from his opponent, slowly but surely, one mining drone at a time. be it distance mining or otherwise. Okay, so now we have 34 drones on this mineral line, actually in a Congo line, if you will. But again, even on one base, Terran has a means to get more income than Zerg does. So that's why we actually always see Zerg's forced to take a hatch first opener versus Terran. 9 out of 10 times, that's what happened. So now we have nothing but Banelings in the mix here for Switch. He's got some income up. It's just that we have to see him be able to take down this entire Bioforce for Oof. It's painfully close. It can go either way. And now Oof is coming down here to check and see if there's a base coming down, and there is. Now here's the more critical part. Are we going to see Switch be able to cancel this in time? No, he didn't. That's actually really big. And also given the fact that there's nothing here to defend while we actually have Switch going on the offensive here. This is going to make the game, guys. I mean, this is essentially where we see Zerg start falling apart. But again, the one thing, we see iloveoov forced to lift off his orbital command again with nothing to defend these SCVs, except for some now reinforced Marines. And now we actually see that, we have Oof basically moving into this, that one Spinecrawler is just receiving a plethora of transfuses, still does not manage to hold its ground versus these Marines. And there's not enough Lings, there's not enough army units here to deal with that many Marines. Sure, they're +3/+3. Sure, they've got Adrenal Glands, but at the same time, there aren't enough. Given the positioning that we actually have from our Terran, if these were all spread out, it would be easy peasy for the Lings, but it's just not. And now we actually have Switch on 0 income because he's forced to distance mine, and now we have some Marines ready to intercept this. Macro Hatch is looking like it's going to be targeted down, but again, these Marines hesitant to engage out in the open. They are pretty low health, and one Baneling does connect, and that's about it. Switch now, and for the final engagement of his life, he just doesn't have what it takes to generate in. 2 Queens being destroyed, and now it's looking like Switch is going to lose all of his SCVs here. Excuse me, all of his drones. And this game is basically sealed for iloveoov now. There it is. He just left the game without even so much as a GG. And no one could really blame him. This much blood and sweat put into the game, I couldn't blame him either. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Breaker. If you guys liked what you saw today, just go ahead and click on the subscribe button. I'll see you next time.